I'm your host, Brittany McDowell. Thanks for tuning in to today's show. If you don't know, our podcast is brought to you by our organization, our United Resource PAC. We are a tax-exempt political organization. On today's show, we are discussing how more Democrats are now calling for not just one-time, but recurring stimulus checks. And this was done in the form of Democrats recently sending a letter to President Biden urging him to include not just a one-time stimulus payment, but recurring monthly relief payments to the American people as part of his COVID-19 relief bill. But the problem with getting these recurring stimulus checks to the American people is not with the House of Representatives. So we're going to talk about that today. Also, we've got a resource to help you check the status of your most recent economic impact payment if you have yet to receive it. That's what I have for you today. Stay tuned and let's get started. You're listening to another episode of our PAC Politics Podcast. It's about that time for the next episode. Hey, this is Brittany. Just wanted to shoot you a quick reminder. Look in the description box of this episode and you can find a link to our website. On our website, you can find our latest blog posts. You can find our contact information. You even want to make a contribution, you can go over there and do that as well. You can find out the policies we are looking at and targeting as an organization. You know, I say all the time that we are a tax-exempt political organization. If you want to know more about that, again, go on over to our website, our-pac.com, where you can find out everything you want to know. You can do everything you want to do. We will gladly welcome you on our website with open arms. Again, check out our website in the description box below. So one thing that is apparent to these Democrats that are calling for recurring monthly stimulus assistance to all Americans is the fact that a one-time $1,400 check, it's absolutely not enough. And you're at this point seeing a group of progressive Democrats, because you don't have progressive Republicans, do you? But anywho, you're seeing progressive Democrats, and when they look at and review President Biden's COVID-19 relief plan, they literally can only respond with the fact that, like, this is not enough, right? It does not provide repeated assistance to Americans. And so we now have a group of more than, I believe, 50 Democrats who, in response to kind of the relief plan of President Biden, they've recently sent a letter to the president, and that letter urges him to include recurring relief payments in his COVID-19 bill. And you really only have the progressives that are in the House that have signed it. And I want to read you kind of two quotes from it. The first one says, "One more check is not enough during this public health and economic crisis," end quote. And then it goes on to say, "Many families cannot afford to wait for 8 months between payments," end quote. The letter, when it's examined, readers, quite frankly, get a sense of urgency when they make the argument that any relief package from this point forward should provide ongoing cash payments, not just for American adults, but for dependents as well. And they want to see those payments until the economy, excuse me, I'm still drinking my coffee, the economy has fully recovered. And the actual amount that they're asking for in the actual letter is not present. Okay, there is no specified amount. They're not saying, oh, we want $2,000 a month, we want $1,000 a month, we want $500. There is no amount in that letter. But it is important to note that some members of the House who have signed this letter, they have publicly proclaimed, they've publicly called for specific amounts of $2,000 per month. But again, I want to make it very clear that the letter that I'm referencing here does not, in fact, have not just $2,000. It doesn't have any dollar amount in it. Something that I think that anybody who's, been kind of watching what's been playing out over essentially this past year, something that is not surprising is the fact that the Republicans at this point, both in the House and the Senate, quite frankly, they just have a problem with the fact that not even looking at a recurring $2,000 or whatever amount stimulus per month to Americans, even when they try and fathom and grapple their minds around $1,400 a month, or excuse me, a one-time $1,400 payment, a lot of them kind of have this sentiment that, like, look, we just sent $600 to people. We really don't need to be seeing, or we don't need to be sending them $1,400. Remember what Mitch McConnell's theme was last year? Pause, 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 pause. That's essentially what many Republicans want yet again, another pause. And so kind of the response that you're getting from Republicans in not just response to a recurring stimulus, but again, just even to a one-time $1,400 payment, as is being proposed by the Biden administration, is no, not ever. No, not now. But whether it's not ever or not now, you're getting a resounding no from Republicans. And when you consider that they're saying no, absolutely not, to a one-time $1,400 payment, it's absolutely of no surprise to many, if not, to many people, if not, everybody, that they are absolutely not on board with recurring monthly relief for Americans during the course of this pandemic. Let's talk very specifically and briefly about the struggle for recurring monthly stimulus for Americans. And there are 2 points that I want to make here. The first is that the problem that our society, the American people, the problem that we will have in this fight for recurring monthly stimulus, which many people support, the problem is not going to be the president. The problem is not going to be the House of Representatives. The problem is going to be with the Senate. And I know that, especially if you've been listening to the show over time, or even if you haven't been listening to the show, but you've been kind of keeping your eye on what's been happening politically, and you're aware of the shift that we saw in control in the Senate to now having it being a Democratic majority, you're probably like, what? Like, Brittany, I thought that, the Senate was all green and go because it's now blue. Look, yes, in fact, the Senate is still slightly more blue, like literally slightly more blue than it is red. But again, the Senate is still going to be a problem. The Senate is going to be a problem because in order for us to have legislation that will produce recurring monthly stimulus, we have to have the legislation come from the House and then go to the Senate, where it will then go to the president. Okay. And again, in the House, we won't have a problem. The problem is going to be when it gets to the Senate. While we do have a slim majority in the Senate, we literally cannot have a situation where any Democrat in the Senate votes against recurring monthly stimulus. And quite frankly, I cannot say with certainty that we are guaranteed that type of situation if we were to have this type of legislation put up for a vote, this type of bill put up for a vote in the Senate. I'm like literally like 30% certain that we can get every single Democrat in the Senate to go ahead and vote yay on that type of legislation. But that, even if you assume that every Democrat in the Senate votes yay, yes, that still in and of itself, at least by regular procedures, is not enough to see the type of the number of votes that would be required for actual passage. We'd need one of two situations to play out. The first situation that we would have to have play out to have success on this issue in the Senate is we'd have to have 10 Republicans, in addition to every Democrat that is in the Senate. They'd have to go and all vote yay to reach that 60 vote threshold. Okay? You'd have to have 10 Republicans cross over. Again, I'm not even certain we could get every Democrat over there to vote yay on this. If we don't have that situation play out, there is one other kind of situation that can give us the yields that we want, that will result in recurring monthly stimulus for the American people. The other kind of alternative reality that we can hope to see that would give us what we want is a situation where we have something called reconciliation. And this is where, instead of having the required 60 votes to pass, we go through a different process, again called reconciliation, and it lowers that number of votes that we need in order to have passage. And that's 51. But again, even that situation would require, again, every single Democrat to vote yay. And it also would require the tiebreaker, who is the Vice President Kamala Harris, to vote yay on it as well. Those are our only two options. The only two options that we have. So again, the problem is not going to be in the House of Representatives. The problem will be in the Senate. And I guess you could say, considering kind of the situations that I just threw at you, I guess you could say that, quite honestly, it's not just the Republicans that can be the issue. It's even Democrats, because again, I'm not even certain that all Democrats would go along to get along for the sake of passage of legislation that would give Americans recurring monthly stimulus payments. So that said, to be frank, to be very, very frank, even though I know our organization, an organization that is focused on COVID-19 economic stimulus and relief, an organization that wants to support politicians that want to see sufficient COVID-19 relief given to the American people, an organization that wants to oppose politicians that want to fight sufficient or deny sufficient economic stimulus and relief to the American people. Even though we want to see, in an ideal world, recurring monthly stimulus, I have to be very frank with you. As much as I would like to say, well, yeah, hey, we got this letter from House Democrats, and we've got more people who are on board to go ahead and give us recurring monthly stimulus. I have to be real with you. I've always been real with you, right? I was real with you all the last year with what we were going through with the stimulus, when you had other people out there saying, oh, any moment now, when Nancy Pelosi was selling you guys on the hopium saying, oh, I'm very confident. Like, I was like, look, we're not going to see anything till 2021. And then finally, actually, my exact words were post-election, until after the election. And I was saying that months before a lot of other people got on that train. A lot of other people were still on the any day now. Oh, this can be it. And I was like, look, let me keep it real with you. And so I'm going to do the same with you now, even though it's not what a lot of you would like to hear. It's not what our organization wants to hear. We want to hear that, hey, this letter is the start of us getting recurring economic stimulus out to the American people. That's what we fight for. But the reality is that even with this letter being signed by more Democrats, more progressives, the fact of the matter is that ongoing monthly stimulus relief for the American people most likely will not happen, at least in this moment. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but in this moment, when you consider the many different contributing factors to the decisions that politicians make regarding their decisions to support or oppose different types of stimulus, the environment is not conducive to us seeing recurring monthly stimulus, even with calls from progressives, even with more people signing on. And I'm telling you this, the reason I've done this today is because I want you to be informed. Because you are going to have people out there telling you, yes, we got this letter out and now, $2,000 a month is right around the corner and get your bank accounts ready. And no. The truth is, this letter, it carries a lot of political weight to the people for the people that signed it. When they go back to their constituents, they can wave the letter and say, look at my signature. But it takes more than these people, significantly more people than the people that signed this letter, to be on board to actually move the political needle and give us the change that we need to see. So when you hear those people telling you any minute now, when you hear those people saying, see, this is proof, us progressives, we are definitely going to get, understand that this is what it is, and this is not something that is going to actually yield us recurring monthly stimulus payments during this pandemic. Hey, so I want to tell you about our email list. Our email list is one of the best ways that you can stay in touch with us. If you look in the description box of this episode, you'll find a link to join our email list. By joining our email list, you'll get access to updates about policy and politicians that we support and oppose. When we have events, you'll get to know about those events via emails, and we'll just generally share news with you. We won't spam your inbox, I promise. And also, we inform you of our newest podcast episodes, which come out Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, by the way. Anyhow, joining the email list is not only easy, but it is absolutely free. Look in the description box of this episode. You'll find the link. Click it. Give us your name and your email. That's all we need. And you'll be in. So please join our email list and connect with us today. All right. Thanks. Today's resource is a resource that we've shared before on our podcast, and it's one especially given the topic of today, which was the fact that more Democrats are calling for recurring stimulus. The fact that we're talking about stimulus, again, was one more reason, or was the main reason why we wanted to kind of present this resource to you guys and for you guys today. Essentially, this resource for today is an official government tool to help you confirm if the IRS and Treasury have sent your economic impact payments, if you have yet to receive it. I know that there are quite a few people with our second round, this most recent $600 payment. A lot of people still haven't received their payments. You can access this tool to not just see if your payment has been sent, but how they've actually sent it as well, if it will be direct deposit or mailed check. But I'm pretty certain, don't count my words, I'm pretty certain that at this point, if you have not received a direct deposit, that you will be either dealing with a mailed check, or some people will be having to actually go through the process to get the actual, like a tax credit when you do your taxes this year. But there's more information even on that tax credit and the people who will have to kind of go through that process in the actual resource that we have today. To get access to that resource, it's very simple. If you look in the description box of this episode, you'll see a link to join our mailing list. Just click the link. You'll be prompted to give us your name as well as your email address. I promise you, we will not spam you. Immediately after you give us your name and email address, we will then send you a welcome email, and then you'll get an immediate follow-up email to that, giving you access to the resource. I definitely think, again, if you yourself have not received your economic impact payment, or as most people call it, your stimulus payment, you need to get this resource so you can find out what the heck is going on, especially so you can make sure that it didn't go to some random person's bank account, because if they did do a direct deposit to someone else's bank account, it will tell you the bank account that it was actually sent to, and you can confirm, yo, I didn't see this. Let me call the IRS because they sent it somewhere else and it went to somebody else. So it's very important if that's your situation. And even if you got your economic impact payment, but you maybe know someone who didn't, sign up, join our email list. You're already listening to our podcast. One of the things that you'll get is other information from our organization, but you'll get access to the resource that, you can pass along to other people, or you can have them join the email list. If you don't want to do it yourself, again, you can find it in the description box below. And I hope that this resource is of benefit to not only you, but potentially those you know. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that is our show for today, Friday, January 29th, 2021. Feels a little bit more normal saying 2021. If you've been listening, I've been kind of getting used to saying 2021. But I'm glad that by the end of this month, I have made some progress on feeling like saying 2021 is normal. Anywho, I hope that you took some bits of information away from today's show. First and foremost, something that I did not mention, which is that on Monday, we will not be having a show. So just kind of be advised, we are off. So I won't see you until Wednesday. But getting back to what I was saying here, in addition to that, I hope that you walk away from today's show with a few bits of information, especially as it is going to be talked about more and more. This letter that I referenced earlier, that more Democrats in the House of Representatives have signed, primarily progressives, indicating their desires and calls for recurring monthly stimulus. They know, I know, many people know that $1,400 is, especially as a one-time check, is not enough for most people. I am glad that unlike the $600 payment, for some people it will at least be enough to cover a month's rent or a mortgage payment, because for many people, the stimulus we just received couldn't even do that, right? But even still, even with that small bit of good news, that one-time assistance for most people is not going to be enough. And it's pivotal, it's important, and it's appreciated that we do have elected officials who are speaking out to this fact. But the fact remains, even with that fact, consider that the struggle that they will face, that we all face, to actually see a $2,000 or any amount recurring monthly stimulus payment for Americans, the struggle is, quite frankly, at this point, insurmountable. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? Until the environment, until conditions are more conducive to people that are required, more people that are required, actually being willing to kind of throw their hats in the ring and throw their support in the ring, until we reach that point, we will not, and we are not, we will not be, and we are not at yet that point where we can count on enough of the required votes in whatever form we take, whether it's through reconciliation or kind of normal rules and procedures in the Senate, because that is where the problem lies. We're not yet at that point where we have enough votes. But until we get there, all you can do is kind of call for your elected officials to get behind this, whether it's making calls to their offices, letting them know, hey, I support this and I need you to support it. If you're unsure about where your elected official is on this issue, hey, call them up, call their office and see, where do you stand on recurring monthly stimulus? So that way you can understand if your elected officials are in the same boat as not just you, but many other Americans who, again, realize that a one-time $1,400 check is not enough. But keep this information in mind, again, because over the next few days, you'll have many sources, whether it's on YouTube, podcasts, the mainstream media, whatever the case might be. You're going to have many sources signal that this letter and its signatures are a sign of not just more support, which, it is a sign that there's more support growing behind the idea of recurring monthly stimulus, but they may frame it in a way that inspires you to have hope. And it's not that I'm against hope. I'm against hope that is unfounded in reality, right? The reality, again, of the situation is that there are not enough votes. We need those votes to be whipped. We need more people to kind of change their ideology. But again, the current environment is not conducive to those changes that will yield enough votes, which is ultimately the only thing that is going to get us that recurring monthly stimulus. Not a letter, not talks on news, not mentions on social media, but the votes. Those are the only thing, and we don't have enough of those. So hopefully over time we'll get them, but for now, this is where we are, this is where we stand, and I hope that you come to that knowledge, and I hope you're not mad at me for keeping it real with you, because that's what I seek to do. I seek to not just keep it real, but I seek to keep you informed. I don't get on here and I don't talk about 15 different things because, we're not a news show, so to say. We are a political organization. And while I get on here and I talk about things, know that our organization is behind the scenes working to run political ads against. We've got some stuff planned for this year that I'm super excited about, but we are planning to run political ads against those politicians who wanted to deny the American people the economic assistance that is so needed, that has been so needed during the entirety of this pandemic. And know that we want to not just oppose those politicians, but we want to support the politicians that actually worked, not just by going and doing interviews, but actually by putting the votes out for everyone to see. Not just on the news shows, not just on social media, but those who actually voted to assist you, those who actually proposed legislation that actually would have assisted people. Those are the people we'll be running ads in support of. But anywho, I'm rambling. I hope you have a great weekend. I hope you stay safe. Again, things may, I think we've entered kind of this point where a lot of people are We're kind of tired of hearing about the pandemic. We want to go back to normalcy, and there's hope behind this shot. But I talked about it in a few shows back. Just because we have the shot does not mean it's time to lax up, right? I talked about it when I talked about some governors wanted to take away mask mandates and kind of let things go willy-nilly. This is not the time to let up. Okay, this is the time to buckle down, stay strong. And you stay strong by using your hand sanitizer, wearing your masks. If you're like me, you wear a few masks. If I maybe had a little, bigger ears, I probably, instead of 3 masks, would try to get on 4, maybe even 5, who knows. But do what you have to do to stay safe, keep your family safe, and to do your part to kind of curb the spread. We can finally see a little hope on the horizon. This is like real hope, not the hope that that I was just mentioning, hope that's like not really grounded in reality. But we are, when it comes to the pandemic, we're kind of slowly but surely, especially now that we have an administration that is actually willing to utilize scientists and science and actual professionals to combat this issue and address the issue. We are really moving towards this place of hope, and we see some hope on the horizon, but we are not there quite yet. So I don't want you to let up. I want you to just keep doing what you made it this far. You've been alive this far. So apparently you've been doing something right. Whatever you've been doing, keep doing it. I don't know what it is, but keep doing it. Don't let up. Okay? Again, I'll see you next week. I hope you walked away with some good information. And I hope you liked our new intro that I had going for today. It will be our new intro that will be in place for all episodes. So, yeah. Get used to it because it's here to stay, because quite frankly, I absolutely love it. That said, have a good Friday and a good weekend, and I will see you next week. You've been listening to our PAC Politics Podcast.